Okay, here we are today in chapter 7, Omra's first lesson, and Michael is leading, so I'll hand it over.
Thank you, Mila. The first passage that jumped out at me was, God does not display his court regalia in the unprotected windows of earth's marketplace to attract the cupidity of passing adventurers. He hides it deep in the secret of his presence, where thieves do not break through and steal. And I thought this was a wonderful description of a quality of God. And I'd love us to talk about it. So does anyone want to say how they feel about this or what they might see? And, Jesus says God is a clever God. And I think she's being really clever here.
Well, Michael, why do you say that that's a wonderful quality of God, that God has done that? Because that's the last word I was going to pick to describe it.
Looks like you have to get through a labyrinth to get to the honey, or you have to really desire it. And I'd say that the soulful qualities of reflection and introspection, sensitivity, those qualities help us discover God's nature and gifts, I think. And those of us, myself, when my life is really busy and I just loving all the material things around me, it's like being on the freeway. I zoom right by it. So God makes me slow down and find her on her terms. So if you're not looking, you're not going to notice it's there. It takes an effort. It requires an effort.
Okay. I needed that framework to even be able to understand what you're asking.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for that. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, Pat?
Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. When I first read it, though, my initial response was a bit of anger because I feel God should make it more obvious for us to find them and have a rule book and show us exactly what we need. But I realized this week, because I did reflect on this question a lot, because I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I thought, why can't God just make it better for me? And then I realized that's not what God wants me to do. It's not make it easy for me. He wants me to develop a desire to figure it out for myself and want a relationship with God and to learn how to be loving. I guess I've always wanted things to be easy, but if I have to slow down, like you say, and develop a desire and just develop qualities in me to want to feel God and to know the truth, I have to slow down and figure it out for myself rather than God fixing it for me. He wants me to learn to fix it for myself. So when I do get down or depressed or whatever, that I can eventually learn how to solve my own problems rather than expecting someone to fix it for me. I also think God he certainly doesn't manipulate us. And if he were to advertise things and say, these are the benefits, if you do this, that's sort of manipulating us to say, okay, I'm going to do that just because I want the benefits, rather than us wanting the relationship or whatever.
Thank you. Michaela? Oops, can't hear you.
Sorry. I'm mad that it's so hard and that there's so much trickery, and it's like, if God wants us to find him, why does he make it so hard?
That's probably my truer feeling. I mean, I think it's real clever, but I'm 64 and I don't feel like I've really found it yet. So it's not as easy as I thought it would be when I set out.
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Michael and Pat, that you really have to have a sincere desire to come to God. And when I was looking at this paragraph at first, where it says, God does not display his court regalia in the unprotected windows of Earth's marketplace. I looked up regalia from an older perspective, and it said regalia originally meant the things, and especially the dress and decoration, that belong exclusively to a monarch. And I remember a few chapters ago, I was like, who's making this court of voices? Like, where does it come from? And I'm feeling now this is kind of saying it's God's court. It's God's created this court of voices. And all the beautiful decorations that's being described, these fountains and all these jewels and trees and things like that. Now, I just think if that was placed on Earth at this point, it would just be looted. Like, I look at any great civilization or anything of value, people just take it. Sometimes they take it to another country and put it in their own museums, or they have to put security guards around it, because of these emotions within most of us, humanity, that we want to take, we feel we can take things. And so I feel then the real key part of this paragraph is that he hides it deep in the secret of his presence. So you have to come to the presence of God to be able to see these, these things in the court. And thieves do not break through and steal. It's impossible for them to break in and steal. Nobody with that motive would even be seeking God and trying to find out more about God. So I feel kind of like, I want to say it's a very clever design, but yeah, it also makes it harder for us all to get there. But it's one way I feel the love in it, because if we could all just get there without a sincere desire, look what we could do. We could destroy it. We could get to that court of voices and someone would go, oh wow, look at that fountain, I might go and take that for my house. Or look at those trees, I might just cut those down and make something different out of them. So yeah, we really need this sincere desire and love, I feel, to come to God. And
Laura?
I'm already unmuted. I went on a similar journey to Karen, actually, with that. I looked up regalia as well, and because I had no idea what that meant. And sort of came to the same conclusion. It's like the jewels, like the official dress of royalty. And then I found myself wondering what thieves could even steal, or from that situation, because it's kind of alluding to that it's hidden from people who without the level of love developed in their soul would take for themselves. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of went on that sort of journey with it, and I had some other notes. Oh, so the progress that we make to be in a place where we're not going to want to take from ourselves, like from God. Sheesh. It's about the level of development that we have to make in our soul, so that we're not going to abuse the situation. And I sort of found myself pondering on where we find places like this on earth. And for me, it's nature. Like, God has created nature, and I see, you go to places and there's just busloads of tourists, and they're all like not enjoying the space and sort of sitting with it and reflecting with it as much as they want to take something, even if it's a photo of themselves in it. Like there's a narcissistic tendency for people to want to, you know, just I'm here, you know, I'm there, and like they want to take something from people, and I feel like it's a similar sort of thing, and it's sort of about the development that we have to make, so that we can honor and reflect in a place that's created for that purpose. But yeah.
When I think of regalia, I think of flags hanging from banners and jewels and gold and stuff. But the regalia of this court, like Karen pointed out, is these magnificent trees and this beauty and the sense of peace and the natural things. And then you said, Laura, like in nature, what if I mean, poets know, at least from the 1800s, they know to go out to commune with nature to feel God. So gosh, what if God has, you know, initially made the whole planet was like her court and inviting us to discover her, and look what we've done to it, but still there are pockets that we can find.
Yeah, it's like it's already here for us, essentially. Like when Amon and a man were here, this was the place like that was created for them. So it makes me kind of think, you know, this nature's beauty is all around, God is all around, and we don't have to get, I don't know, we definitely have to develop ourselves, but it's everywhere, you know, like to show us.
See, Judah?
I appreciate all the insights, because I actually was kind of stuck on this one. But the one thing that stood out was the remark about his presence where thieves do not break through and steal. So I thought that meant that it protects imposters from coming forward. God is so great and grand that once we are able to be in a place where we view God, we'll know that it is in fact God. So that's what I got out of it.
This reminds me of early talks by Jesus about our desires changing, and that we wouldn't have to really give up the desires of our heart. You know, one of my resistances is giving up things that I like, but in time, the desires of our heart change. And so this reminds me of that, because the desires of our heart change, and then it will be easy to find this presence. I'm guessing that will put us in that space. Yeah, Mila.
Some points I had for this question was it's hidden because we need to give up on our addiction first. And if we could see these treasures at this stage, it would look similar to addictions. Like for me, I'll be like, oh, how do I get this? It feels like I'm seeing it from the view of my addictions, just like you would see royalty now, or you will see fame, you will see whatever. And then you're saying, how can I get that? Which is only feeding the fire of addiction even more. And so I have to give up my addiction. I have to give up this idea of ever being able to get this thing that I want, which makes me feel so bereft and sad. And when I know I cannot have something, I have to give it up. Then I always discover the other portion of it, that is a pure aversion. But it came because I was no longer expecting it. As long as I'm expecting it, I'm in the addiction phase. So I felt like God is hiding it so that we can first burn off the addiction phase, not see it, and then be able to find this other treasure that you didn't expect to find because you give up on it from the addiction phase. I was also thinking that, well, I was wondering in your question that where else is God known to take such precaution? I was thinking of Summerland. That could be another place where negative influences are hidden. Like Summerland is hidden away from a lot of what could damaged children in the first sphere. I don't know if that fits. Yeah, those were my comments.
And I was thinking that the gate itself, you know, he's going to encounter the chasm. So there's another example right there. Any more, Mila?
No.
Okay, Selena.
What this brought to mind for me was, by the time you get there, it's because you've developed a really pure desire. And if you were given those things without the pure desire, you just go, I'm parking myself here. But it's that pure desire that keeps you wanting to progress. Like, that's still just your most important thing. No matter how beautiful or lovely it is, doesn't matter. It's wonderful, and you see it as a beautiful gift. And you can't even believe that you got this gift because you developed this pure desire. But once you've developed it to the point where you get to have these gifts, you're unstoppable. Like, I don't think that, and that's why God gives it to you, because he knows you're still going to want to progress, even with all of these gifts. So you can't show them to you too soon, or you're just going to be parked.
Just progressively revealing things. And
yes, like, so that it's always maybe even less than what you could truly have. Well, sort of, I guess, because you just, it's that desire to be close to God that would trump all of it, that pure desire to have God's love.
he's got to raise us up and teach us how to want her, you know.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. So you got this now, you know, because you have that desire. Just think what you can get with this next desire, like as you keep purifying your desire. And it's that, but it seems like almost when they get there, even though it's just beautiful and fantastic, it's not, I passed the test, you know, I've graduated and I'm done now. There's no stopping at that point, I don't think.
And it's also a reward for going through the gauntlet to get there.
Yeah, the fire of, isn't it the fire they describe it as, a fire to purify your desire? How's that hurt? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I feel we should go on to question 2. So I set it up a little bit. Seemingly by accident, after he received help from Mahanine's group of ministers, Aphraar found himself at the Court of Voices, where he was welcomed by Rael, who brought Omra, an advanced teacher who will prepare Aphraar to enter the gate of heaven. And let's go right directly into that passage. Aphraar says, speaking of Omra, "Shall I ever forget or cease to appreciate the delicate caution with which he began his ministry? How unostentatiously he broke a seal here, unlocked a mystery there, or by some subtle magic cleared some distant cloud away, as he wished me to catch a glimpse of problems I had to solve under his guidance as each occasion arose. He drew me nearer and nearer to him at each step, as he led me down the soul-transforming corridor of the revelations he had to make. Like a superphysician, he saw an incipient need, aroused a hunger for the remedy, and then supplied a superabundant feast." The chord it struck with me was that the perfect assistant to attaining our heart's desire was provided, and Aphraar could not have created this himself, but Omra came to help him, and Rael was looking for people to come by, and he said Omra watches for people who come by here, which must mean that people don't come by unless they're ready to be there. So, and all of that was following the work that Mahanine did and his group to strip away and, you know, answer his questions, pull away his beliefs and feelings about the earth and what he learned there. so there's so much that went on to bring him to this place through God's great love. And so it was really for anybody that wants to, and he didn't expect this. So it's provided for somebody who's sincere and on the path. We're going to get to critical places like this, and help arrives. And I know I've been felt like I've been offered a lot of help, and my spirit friends have too. It's so easy to turn it down because you're not ready, and then so the opportunity doesn't unfold. But here's an example of somebody who was ready, and then some wonderful things that happened for him. And I'm glad I have so much of AJ Jesus on tape, so I can, what I didn't get the first time, I can come back and reflect and keep learning from. So who wants to open our comments? Yeah, Laura.
This was kind of awesome actually, but I felt a few little things, like there was a part of me that doesn't feel worthy of being helped and supported in the way that Aphraar has been, or describes himself to have been. And I kind of felt like it was a bit, woe is me, something like that going on inside of me. But if I really reflect on it, I can see that I actually do receive the help that I desire and ask for, like every single time that I ask for it. So I think it's a matter of sort of building my faith in this a little bit more, to solidify the truth that, you know, of ask and you shall receive. So I have just like a little bit of conflicting unworthiness that's sort of preventing me from having faith in that just yet. I've got a little bit, but also I'd probably be more inclined to receive the assistance or ask for it if I didn't have injuries around, you know, like having to do it all on my own, or that nobody cares or nobody loves me enough to answer my questions. So you know, I felt like I was reflecting on being fobbed off a lot as a kid, you know, when you have questions and, you know, you think your parents are the almighty truth knowers and you like want to know everything, and nobody really wants to tell you anything. So I think I've got a little bit of shut down around that. And then I have, that last bit was really awesome. Like a super physician, he foresaw an incipient need, aroused a hunger for the remedy, and supplied the superabundant feast. You can really see like how that childlike curiosity that Aphraar's demonstrated throughout these whole books has just gotten him from like strength to strength, so to speak. But now it's sort of being shown that that's actually why he's progressed so quickly. Is it just that he had this like really strong desire to know the truth about things, and so that's like pulled him to develop more quickly, it seems. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. It made me feel like, okay, so that's sort of the thing that we have to just develop, is just this really beautiful kind of pure desire, which Jesus has talked about for like forever. But yeah, it just seems really lovely to see it in this context.
Karen.
So yeah, when I was first reading it, I thought, wow, that's just so beautiful. He has somebody that's just there to not only answer every question, but it's like he can see almost in the future what you're going to want to ask, and he kind of plants these seeds. And then I kind of had a feeling, hey, I don't have someone like that. There's no one that I can see and that's standing next to me and I can hear clearly and see. So, and then I reflected more on it, and kind of similar to what Laura was saying, I can see when I sincerely ask that it is answered. It's just maybe not coming in this, that I don't have a spirit just magically appearing in front of me and telling me all these things, but it comes in so many different ways, whether just a conversation with somebody, something pops up on YouTube, and I look at all these things I've attracted in my life, even the teachings of divine truth, that just provides so much truth. And so there is a lot of help, I feel, and my guides, I feel, do, when I'm sincere, I feel I get sincere answers. So I feel this is more, a question of sincerity and desire, and that God will always answer us when we're sincere and have a desire. And so kind of felt, instead of me getting mad about that there's no one here next to me giving me all these answers, that the problem's more with me, that I need to get myself in a condition, because maybe I can attract that if I develop my senses and desire, that I can see spirits right next to me, and my guide could help me, like Omra's helping Aphraar, or Mylene, or all these other people that have helped him. Oh, and I just make a quick comment. Here it said, when he said, I had thought that Aphraar would become more prayerful and love-filled to enter the gate, but he seems to be crediting the revelations of truth that he's receiving. I felt he is becoming more love-filled. I feel that he's, a lot of these descriptions, like where he just even looks at the lilies and he's in this reverie and it's just so in love. I feel there is a lot of love coming from him, but I agree there is a lot of truth. But I think it's truth and love they can't really be separated at that point. I think there's with the truth, and he's feeling this love, and then feels this feeling of love, and then more truth comes. I feel it's an insert blending, maybe. Okay.
I'm glad you spoke to that, because Jesus says desire for truth, prayer for divine love, prayer for divine truth, and humility. And I don't hear him talking about Aphraar talking about praying, but Jesus says that truth opens the door to divine love inflowing. So I'm thinking that the one following the other is maybe so close that as he encounters more and more truth, it's opening his heart. He's feeling more love and appreciation and like wonder at God's majesty and all these things. So kind of like it goes without saying. So this is how I'm interpreting that the love that is doing the transformation of his soul is coming along with it, and hasn't been highlighted yet.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Just a comment on that, actually, that a couple of things. When you're saying that you thought Aphraar has become more prayerful, but I thought desire was prayer. Is desire not prayer? Like, he has so much desire, so much pure desire, that I feel like that is his praying, right? And that's why it is coming to him.
I think you're right, and this is my misunderstanding, because the incident with the box falling on Bully Peg, or that, and how the boy's desire that Jesus pointed out, that the child's feeling this isn't fair, was actually a prayer and an expectation that something better would have happened. And I missed that one completely too. So
yeah, because when I look at when I have received help, it wasn't so much because I was verbalize or saying a prayer is when I actually did have a sincere desire to better something in myself, to work through something. And I find it kind of ironic, these two questions together, one after the other, because the first one really kind of made me feel unworthy, and that maybe I'm being blocked from this regalia and this wonderfulness, right? That I'm not worthy to have it, to be part of it. And then the next one, I'm looking at and going, hey, God is helping me. And yes, I have had assistance. So I am not being blocked from it. It's just my perception of it. So it was really good, just the way they were laid out.
Oh, good.
Really good. Thank you.
Not because of anything I designed. But I can see his faith growing, you know, his when he has a real true feeling, God is showing up and answering it. And if God just responded to our addictions, like Mila was saying, we wouldn't be having real faith. So for me, I need to like stop and notice when my prayers are really being answered and go, I've really had a sincere desire, and God does answer those prayers or those desires of my heart.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about this passage? Pat?
Yeah, when I read it, I thought, wow, look at all the help he's getting and all the assistance he's getting. And I thought, that's great. But then I also thought, well, he's in the spirit world, and I can't wait to get to the spirit world so I can get help, because I think I'm not really getting help here. But if I'm honest, it is me that's blocking any help that I am getting. But just recently, I'm getting help from people like Karen. I've talked to Karen a lot, and Karen's helped me, and Darm's helped me, and just being invited to the book group, just hearing everyone's comments, I feel privileged to be here, and I feel I learn a lot from being here. So I think this is just maybe a law of attraction event that's showing me that I'm getting help too, because most of the time I feel I don't deserve it or unworthy of it, especially from the spirit or anybody for that matter, actually. So those are my thoughts on it.
Thank you. Selena?
I really like that last little bit, the super physician. I feel like on reflection of this journey he's been on, he's realized that every time he was confused or he'd answer the question and get a question in response and he had to figure it out, but he realized everything was done perfectly. Like when he wasn't just given the answer, it was because he needed to feel through the answer for himself through some experience. And they weren't just going to tell him all the answers. And which is kind of what I think I experience all the time, that I just don't get the answers. But on reflection, he looks back on this process that he's had and he sees it was all just done so perfectly. And that's, his faith is so strong now because of that. Because he realizes there was never a moment that it wasn't perfectly delivered.
Does it seem like God is training us to be children? You know, Jesus says a child can do this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I see him like arousing a curiosity, creating a desire, supplying an answer, and blowing our minds, you know?
Yeah. Like he just trusted them, and eventually he felt the truth, heard the truth, whatever he needed to do. They just knew what needed to happen for him to keep growing, keep progressing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Mila?
I always had an expectation that whenever I asked for help, some kind of book will show up. So I have this kind of this exciting little expectation that whenever I'm stuck somewhere, I'll go, I'd actually expect it like a spoiled little kid going, come on, waste a buck, give it to me, because I've learned to expect it. Maybe it's fate. So some kind of book will drop, a book in the library, a bookstore, whatever, something, some kind of knowledge will come my way. And that's actually how I found Divine Truth. It was an ebook search. So it was a book. But what I didn't expect was that our guides can actually help, not just give us information, but actually help us remove emotional pain by triggering certain emotions. It's like our guides are actually like healers or like doctors. They can actually facilitate the process of removing our pain so that we can heal. That was something I didn't expect to ask for.
Wow. I'm going, I don't understand that, but I want that. Okay. Question 3, if there's no further comments. Okay. So something's happening to our friend Aphraar that he's beginning to notice. He's listening to Omra talking, but at the same time, it's like he's got a divided mind or something, but he's able to critically observe and admire and appreciate his surroundings. And he says more about that. Below the horizon of this divided, though strangely complete consciousness, the superior light of another and more far-reaching dawn gave signs of rising. Another interior eye was first awakening to discover that a new and unknown universe was in existence eastward in the boundless expanse of the soul's domain. As yet I could neither see the orb nor the new creation it was destined to illumine, but the opening eye could catch the herald rays that darted in ever-increasing brightness to break the long, lingering gloom of the region that is yet to be. A little longer, and those rays would form a royal road over which my soul would pass and reach its rightful heritage as a son of God. I knew it. I needed not that Omra should tell me. That awakening organ of vision was more than an eye. It was more than all the rudimentary faculties of sense combined. It was the true mirror of revelation that was to enable the one-ship with the Christ that had just been born in me to catch and reflect the image of our Father God. Would anyone like to unpack the mystical meanings of this phrase? Yes, Selena.
Oh, I love this part. And the last line in particular, to catch and reflect the image of our Father God. I think it's the first time he can actually feel where he's going, really feel it. He knows it's there. He doesn't need somebody to tell him anymore. And I think that that's what's required to get through the gate, actually, is one of the things. Anyway, you know in your soul where you're going, that it's there and that God's there and that you will become Christ did, or however they say it. When you get there, you just know it. You don't have to be told anymore. It's just in you. It's really, I think like that's like the new birth to me, is when you start getting that awakening in you that you just know.
And I saw the rays of glory form a royal road. I thought that would, over which his soul would pass. I saw that alluding to the formation of the bridge that he'd be able to walk over.
Yeah, but and he can see it from himself. Like he knows what's there, and he has an idea of what it looks like. He feels it. Like it's like just before the sun comes up, you know it's going to come up. It's just some feeling that something changes. Maybe some birds twitter or something, because I can feel it too, right? And he feels it. Nobody has to tell him it's there. He feels it.
And it's real to him.
And it's real. Absolutely. It's not a dream, right?
Karen?
Yeah, I agree with what Selena just said. It's that he's really starting to feel it. now where he's going, and I feel like it's again this faculty, he's being gifted this new faculty that enables him to start to get a glimpse of where he's going. So it's like this orb's just, he can sense it hasn't risen yet, it's about to rise, and he's just starting to catch the rays of what might be there. He's not really sure yet, but he's starting to feel that, wow, there's this whole new universe almost out there that I'm not yet able to go to, but it's there. It's just this awakening of that's there. And again, I feel that's God, what we're talking about earlier in question 1, that God's hiding these things until we're ready, and when we're ready, then suddenly the faculty is added to us, and we're able then to perceive things that we weren't able to perceive before. We might have heard about them, but it's not like this feeling, like Flynn said, that we start to know that that's there and that's possible.
Mila?
I got scared about it. It's actually quite scary for me because, like, I see it as it's an ability to receive. What's the word he uses? Well, to receive revelations from God directly, but it feels really intimate. It feels like God's right there with you all the time. So there's something about the intimacy that really frightens me. It also feels like I will lose control. So at this point, it triggers fear. When I really start to feel about it, I'm like, oh, this is kind of scary. Like, God, you're like right here. Ugh, too close. So that tells me where I'm at with that right now.
And this is in the 6th sphere, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the spirits that are not awakened, have not awakened a desire to God, or don't have the divine love, they probably never drawn to this area, never see it, even though they might be looking. Anybody have any? I'm saying that for the benefit of any 6th sphereans that might be listening, that pointing out this is part of your realm, but there's a reason you haven't found it yet. Is that kind of what you guys feel too?
Well, actually, that's the question that Michael had in the email and Karen had responded. So here's my question: is he about to go into the 7th sphere? Is that what the bridge is towards? And 7th sphere is the enwonment process of going into the 8th. Is that what's going on here? What do you think, Karen?
Yeah, I feel this is the gate, and so the gate going into the 7th sphere. And then when he's in the 7th sphere, he's still going to have some things with God to work through to get to the enwonment state in the 8th. And if you kind of look at the book, he's really throwing off what we've read so far. He's really throwing off the last things in the earth, and he's being guided. Like, there is talk of God, of course, but that isn't just the sole focus. He still has things to remove from his false beliefs and just awaken, just getting into these new faculties. I feel like it's trying to think how to explain it.
There's a good distinction that he's still removing the last of the earth influences at this point.
Yeah, and we can see that in the book. He's still having these influences from, and still has some false beliefs. All his beliefs and actions aren't in harmony with God yet. No. There's still some errors there, but they're getting purified. I feel like he's in the birth canal, like he's going to birth. It's kind of like when we enter here, we're in the birth canal, but we haven't been born yet. We haven't come out yet. I feel like he's in the canal. It's on his way. He's been in the kind of judgment seat that said, yes, you are able to come out, but maybe similar like when we're in the womb, we start out at this little embryo and we've got to develop all these like eyes, nose, all these things we're going to need for when we come out. And I feel that's what he's in the process of doing. He's having to get all these extra faculties and things added to him. So when he comes out into this new world, being born again, he has all the faculties and things he needs to interact in that world. So he's in this, I think in the book it's often talking about he's in the birth throes, is what they keep saying to him. So he's kind of going through this process where he's got to leave behind, maybe similar like when we're in the womb, we've got to leave behind the water that we're in, and we've got to leave behind the umbilical cord, and we've got to give up some of these things we don't need anymore when we come out into the physical world. And I feel it's the same with him. He's got to give up some of these things so he can then truly be born again, which I still don't have a very good grasp on what that entails. But
I like what you're suggesting, that at the seventh sphere, he can just focus on God because all the other influences has been released. It is now a done deal. You know, the ring's on, the wedding date's coming.
Yeah, and you're just purifying your desire for God and just working out any, it's just really things with God, from my understanding, from what Jesus has taught so far. That seems to be,
Virginia, then Michaela.
When I read this, there's so much beauty and wonder, but I also felt this sense of that the responsibility of getting these new faculties. And I felt like that's why it takes this time to get them, and where you have to be, because I'm not ready for these faculties and how to use them properly here in my condition on earth. And that's kind of what I felt, that there's to be ready for this responsibility as well as the wonder of having them.
Michaela?
Just on what Karen was saying, I sort of wonder if the bridge that he speaks about in this passage is the seventh sphere. That was all I wanted to say.
So like the bridge itself is the seventh sphere?
Yeah.
I would think it would take a little bit longer than that. It's going to be a long way on the bridge.
Well, just that's the process where you're really, like Karen was saying, is you're really embodying what's ahead of you. And it's once you get to the end of the bridge, you're in the eighth sphere. And that's where you're at one with God, and you are reflecting. I mean, I don't have the book in front of me, but that last phrase where he says reflecting the image of God. So I just wonder if that's the seventh sphere is the bridge that he talks of.
Yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. That could, okay. So it can be pretty short if you want it. Mine will be a long, leisurely walk.
Well, we don't know how long the bridge is. We can make pretty long bridges, huh?
Bridges can be fun. Thank you.
Yeah. And they warned him that even though something seems close, it can take, it could be a long journey to get there. They've already told him that. So anything else for this passage? Okay. Question 4.
Selena has something.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's just a brief thought. I think these new faculties that he's feeling that we're talking about, maybe that's what you have to have in order to know that you're infinite, that your soul is infinite. So this knowing, this new knowing is what's leading up to that.
He does mention the boundless expanse of the soul's domain.
Boundless, yeah,
So
like he's starting to feel it, because I mean, we talk about our soul being infinite, but I think when you actually know it, it's different.
He's beginning to feel his soul.
Yeah, feel it and feel that it is infinite. Yeah, and I think that's, can't even comprehend really what that would feel like.
Okay. That triggered another question, just it floated through and then it's gone. So on to 4. This looks like I set it up in 2 parts. Happy state indeed, where the azure skies of love are never shadowed by a passing cloud of doubt, and the sun of loving kindness marks the eternal noon of truth that is incorruptible. Boy, I'll sure be happy when I can say that, and when it'll come out of my soul. Any comments about that, and then we'll go into the second part. Okay. And then word for anybody who has struggled: take heart. And where the dots are, I took out part of his description because they were getting a little dramatic, just to keep it more pointed. But he says, take heart, poor, weary, fainting, struggling, tempted, outcast soul. There is such a haven of repose awaiting thee on before. With your eyes blinded by tears, you may not now be able to behold it. You may feel you have not enough strength to travel further, but take heart and make another effort. I have traveled through the self-same wilderness, but the night for me has ended. The morning breaks. On before, I see the land flowing with milk and honey, the homeland, the Father's house, the ring, the robe, the welcome that awaits thee also, only a little further on before. Take heart, dry your tears, just one more effort. Take heart. I love that. Just get us through this next challenge, take heart, and see what unfolds and see what we get through. Just one step after another. And my soul really likes that kind of encouragement. And especially coming from someone who has done it, because you feel that too. So, any other comments? Pat?
Yeah, I found this very, very encouraging. I felt you're getting empathy without judgment, and someone understands you, and you just feel supported. And you can actually see, I could feel that you could actually see the light at the end of the tunnel when someone says, take heart, one more effort. I thought it was beautiful. I love comments like that too.
Yeah, there's no criticism for the mess he's in or the struggles that he's going through and how bad he is. There's just saying, take heart, keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
Judith?
Yeah, I feel like you too, Michael. And it makes me really realize the beauty of this book is just the point, I guess, was just to really instill faith in us. And in combination with also watching that tape that was suggested, the interview with Aphraar and Cheeses, which I had watched before and then watched again, it really does inspire to just, even though you feel like you're not getting anywhere, even just that little step forward. Keep on pushing. And even though I compare myself to Aphraar and I think, well, he's a much better person than I am and was while on earth, but he still had a lot of struggles too. So the whole book is basically, and this is designed to really just give us this great faith, which I find, has been a lifesaver, in addition to the tapes, but this is just another little bit of faith inspiring information for me. So, yeah.
It's good stuff by another delivery method. Anyone else? Yeah, Mila.
I actually had comments about the first part as well, about the nice part, about the beautiful azure skies. Well, where it takes me is it bothers me that when by the time I get to the sixth year, or even at the top of first year, that I get to be happy, but others are still struggling. I feel that I don't deserve to have something unless everybody else are offered, and they are, but I'm also accessing it. And this is one of my passion for why I want to join Lattice Ministry after I pass, if I haven't already, because I have a lot of passion about people struggling in the house or struggling here. And so I feel like, and I also currently where I'm at right now in my condition, I don't believe that my pain is going to end, and I don't feel that God is going to keep a promise that my pain will end. My feeling is that God wants me to stay in pain. God wants me to suffer. And for some reason, God feels that that's what I deserve. That's where I'm at in my current struggle. So that passage didn't really make me feel good. It only triggered this two kind of pain I have. One is that I don't feel that I can leave people behind and go into a better place when they're still struggling. Something about it bothers me, probably some grief I need to release. And then also that I emotionally don't believe God wants my pain to end. I feel like God wants me to stay in my pain, to stay in pain. I haven't worked out why I have those feelings.
I hear you saying that you have emotional beliefs that are separate from what you understand.
Exactly.
Selena? Oh, or was Michaela next?
Selena was first.
Selena?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to thank you for reading that passage so beautifully. It just made me feel it even more. Thank you, Michael. It's very nice.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I could tell how much you felt about it when you read it. It just felt really good.
Yeah, it got me.
Yeah, it was really nice. I don't know how you did it without crying, but good on you.
Just a deeper breath.
Yeah. Okay.
Dear Michaela.
I think I'm a little bit similar to Miller in this one, in that it just makes me feel angry. Like I'm connecting to my 4-year-old self at the moment that just feels so alone and abandoned. And it's like, well, thanks for telling me that, but I still have to drag my ass through this shit, and I'm never going to get there. So it just pisses me off.
Karen?
Just want to say that, yeah, I agreed with what you were saying earlier about how faith building it is. And I just wanted to kind of add, I think there's a real power in somebody who's been through something to be able to help us. I feel there's something in it that I relate more to people who've been through the same thing that I've been through. And if I see somebody that's been through something and has gotten through it, that itself is one of the most powerful faith building things to me. And for some reason, I have a lot of faith, and I feel because I spend time building it, I spend time looking for people who have done things, who have overcome things, who have formed a relationship with God, and I, like in that first paragraph, I just feel that's so beautiful, and I feel that's definitely possible. I feel there's always a way out of things, no matter what we're in, there's always a way out. And sometimes it's really hard, but there's something really beautiful in that. I feel God even assigns us guides that have been through similar things that we've been through, because they are that I feel we can really assist other people when we've experienced things ourselves. That's really how and reason and way we feel we can really help other people, is when we've experienced something and overcome something, then we can share that and help other people with that. Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me that God provides our guides with that gift, with that sensitivity. That's real thoughtful of her. or deep feeling. I think there was another handout. Okay. Question 5. The great line of demarcation is not drawn at the laying down of the physical body, at the barrier beyond which neither medical nor theological practitioner can be of further avail. But the loving kindness and tender mercy of God are still available through the regime of correction, it may be, certainly through convalescence and quarantine. The more effectual ministrations of God's truly ordained assistance are available, as you yourself have experienced, to guide and direct you hither. Thus far, but no farther. Here, all that is of the earth must be laid down. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Now, in order to pass, ye must be born again. The inbreathed God can no longer lie concealed in its casket. The angel must be divorced from the human. Then, and only then, when your name has been recorded in the Lamb's book of life, will you have the right, the power, to pass through the gate into the kingdom. Would you share your thoughts on this? Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I probably had a lot of thoughts on this. Yeah, I thought this first paragraph, it's really saying this boundary is not laid down at the physical body when we pass. And once we pass, it's saying the medical and theological practitioners, so the doctors and priests, they can't really help us anymore. Their speciality is the physical, like they're helping us in the physical. But because we've passed, I feel like it's just saying that there's help still available. God's now got God's truly ordained assistants. So I feel this is kind of saying the doctors and the priests aren't his ordained assistants, but these truly ordained assistants, like Aphraar's attracted Mayamine and Kushner and Omra, these are God's. I feel that gives me a lot of faith that God has special assistants to help me and to help every single one of us. That is what He's designed, and this regime of correction, it may be, certainly through convalescence and quarantine, the more effectual ministrations. I feel like it's saying when we pass, we go, it's a place of correction. So either we're going to go somewhere for this convalescence. So if we've passed in with a quite severe illness, we need to go to a place of convalescence to get our energy back, or as we saw in Through the Mist with Marie in the Harvest of Jealousy, she has to go to some place of convalescence, or later in the book with Aphraar's soulmate Clarice, she has to go to a place of convalescence to recover, or we're quarantined. And I feel we're all quarantined. This is what I kind of hadn't really thought of it like that, but we're all quarantined when we pass. Like either whether you're a rapist and you need to be quarantined in the hell so you don't continue raping somebody, or you're in the second sphere and feeling good, but you still have to be quarantined from, say, the fourth sphere, or even if you're in a fifth sphere condition, you still need to be quarantined from the sixth sphere until you remove the sins. So then you grow in love and you can then go to the next place. But I was kind of feeling in this place where quarantined is the best place for us to be corrected. That's God's designed it. So wherever we are quarantined, that is the best place. And when we are quarantined, He's so loving that He sent all of these assistants to help us, specifically to help us get to the next place. But it's saying these are all, they're here to guide you and direct you hither. And I feel the hither is the gate. So they can guide you to the gate thus far, but no further. They can't guide you through it. They can take you to it and show you all the things. But then hear it saying here, everything of the earth must be laid down, and flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. And I was trying to feel about that, because I thought, well, Jesus was still physical when he was become at one with God on earth. So I thought, I can't be saying actual flesh and blood can't inherit it. I feel it, but I feel it's, I'm saying it's our soul that goes through it. And this flesh and blood, I'm wondering, it's more of a analogy type thing, where I was thinking of the prayer for divine love with temptations of the flesh, and how Jesus has said temptations of the flesh are things like, so if you eat too much, for example, so eating is a loving thing, but then if you eat too much, it becomes a temptation. Or say sex, if you have sex without love, that is unloving, whereas sex can be a loving, or is loving with your soulmate. So I feel there's these, it's really alluding to that these temptations and these things of the flesh need to be laid down, because they're out of harmony with God's love. So anything pertaining more to the earth that's out of harmony with God, I feel needs to be laid down. And then this, really, that we need to be born again. I'm having trouble grasping this concept, really, what it really means to be born again, that you really, I feel like it's saying the in-breath of God, so you're in-breathing the love of God to such an extent that then you can't be concealed in a casket anymore. It kind of breaks it open, and you then are born, like you go through and you're born in this Lamb's Book of Life. Now, I'm not sure if that's an actual book. I'm guessing at that stage they don't need a book. It's going to be pretty obvious. But I just looked at the Bible quote, like the Revelations 21:27, and it said, "Nothing impure shall enter heaven. Only those who have their names written in the Lamb's Book of Life." Essentially, through our salvation in Christ, he makes us pure and able to pass through the gates of heaven. So I feel this Lamb's Book of Life is more referring to this purification, and nothing can defile us, God. So you must remove everything from you. And I feel it's really, really strict. It's a very narrow, really kind of grasping this narrow way. You have to really remove every last sin from you, and before you can go through, through this process.
And all of his words have significance, and to the Lamb's Book of Life is a condition, whether or not it's an actual book, but it describes a condition that we can relate to. And he says you have the right, the power to pass through the gate into the kingdom. So there must be some kind of increased power that comes to the soul when it reaches the stage 2.
Yes, I think that's the faculties they keep talking about, because how they keep saying to Aphraar, he doesn't have the power yet to cross the bridge. He needs to awaken these faculties and things he'll need there. So I feel that's part of the power that's needed. So you need to know how to use these faculties to be able to, because it's where he is right now. He has the right to enter, but he doesn't have the power yet to actually cross the bridge.
Laura.
Yeah, I just Googled the Lamb's Book of Life. Apparently it is a thing in the Bible, and it seems pretty heavy, but I'll post the link in the chat thing if anyone wants to have a look.
Can you summarize it a little bit for the recording? Because the link doesn't show up in the recording.
Oh, well, it's just got all these revelations in here, like a whole bunch of them so these all must be in the Lamb's Book of Life. And then it's, one of them says sort of, but nothing unclean will ever enter it, or anyone who does what is detestable or false, but only those who are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And then there's one that sort of talks about the garments, and This one's a bit heavy. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. It's pretty full on. So I'm going to keep reading through these because it seems interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a loaded phrase. I'll get to you, Karen. It's loaded, and I wanted to. I'm sure there are Christian spirits listening, and this would be something that they would remember, and it's something that they can inquire about and see what's, from Aphraar's perspective, what is really being said, what is really being meant by the book. And if your name isn't written in there, it doesn't mean that you're thrown into the fiery hells. It's the hells are really that place of correction and convalescence and healing. Once we get over the anger of being there, I suppose. Okay, Karen?
I was just going to make a quick point about that, Laura. Yeah, I was looking up, or even just reading the Revelations chapter in the Bible, and I got so angry about it. I felt it was so untruthful. There was these plagues and this wrathful God and all these. I was really having trouble reading. I thought, this is just, I just wanted to throw the book around. I thought it was so I couldn't make sense of it. And I thought, this is really unloving. And I felt, Michael could help the spirits to feel through that God's not this wrathful, sending plagues and to destroy people and throwing people into fires and things like that. It's something Aphraar's alluding to that's quite different.
Thank you. Virginia.
I looked up the Lamb's Book of Life, and this one seems to really resonate, that it is really a symbolism, and that the lamb symbolizes gentleness, innocence, and purity. So that makes more sense. And that's what is happening with your soul. And that's what it represents. Because a lot of other parts of it talks a lot about the sacrificial animal and so on, which is, I don't think it relates to me anyway. I mean, that's just the comment I had.
From my Catholic background, I think we were taught that Jesus was the Lamb. Also, it could also refers to Jesus.
Oh, yeah, true.
Selena or Judith? Judith?
Oh, I just wanted to make another comment in the Wikipedia about the Lamb Book of Life, and it mentions the Book of Life is a motif frequently found in Jewish houses of worship. It is both decorative feature and a fundraiser. Some synagogues have raised money by inscribing congregation members' names in the Book of Life as a tribute to their financial generosity. So I guess that's quite the opposite of what it actually is.
Thank you. Selena.
I was fascinated by this description of the in-breath of God. What is that? Is that conception? Is that spark of life given by God? Is that where it starts? And it's just dead in a casket until you get to where Aphraar is and start to feel your at-one-ment. So that really got me, that one. What is that in-breath? The in-breath of God. Is that, do we always have that? Is that part of us?
Yeah, I wonder what he means, because other cultures talk about God is in the breath, when the breath is holy,
Yeah.
And those are not traditionally Christian, or what I think of as a divine culture. So I wonder what he's saying here.
Like, I guess for me, I think there is some reference to God breathing life into us. So at our conception. So it's like, and then he's talking about it's in a casket pretty much our whole life. It's dead. And then as we come to the at-one-ment phase is when we feel that breath of life given to us by God. I like that interpretation. It's pretty romantic, but I don't know if it's true.
I understand the angel to be a person who has gone through that seventh, who is born again, who has had that transition between and is now in the eighth or higher. And
Yeah.
so I'm seeing the casket as our, our mortal body, or all the mortal stuff about us, and that the newborn, the reborn soul is got to be lifted out of the human form. So that our shining, transformed souls have to be pulled out of this body that's of the earth, so earthy.
Yeah, but it seems to me like the in-breath was there and has been in a casket for our lives. I guess. Where else would it come in? The in-breath, if it's been in a casket, where else would you, or where would that have happened? It would have to been conception, I would think. In-breath. Yeah, I just find it fascinating description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the life that could he be referring to the life that God gave us that set us apart from the earth?
The breath of life, of God, that we don't feel fully again until we're at one with God. That gift. Yeah.
Good question to discuss.
Yeah. Which was a little more fleshed out personally, but yeah. Yeah.
So we're about at the end, or we are at the end, but are there any more comments? So thank you for being the guest host, and Mila, you can take it from here.
Trying to decide if I start recording first or if I show up first. Anyway, thank you, and I'll stop the recording now.